What's up, everyone? This is Bob and Chris. For us, this is the third time trying to do this.
Having internet problems here.
Today's Sunday, March 30th, 2025. And we're having internet problems. It would be great if somebody invented something that helps you get better internet when it's down. Something like that could maybe go around the earth. Oh, wait, hold on. Somebody did that. It's called Starlink.
He was from South Africa.
Oh, yeah. This guy who everyone loved just a couple years ago because he came up with the idea of the electric car, Tesla, and everyone was buying them, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden those same people are burning them because he's a Nazi, because according to him, he wants to get rid of waste, fraud, and mismanagement, and everybody, is the sheep are being told that he's doing it just for himself because he doesn't have enough money. His $400 billion worth isn't enough. He needs to get your social security information.
Even though he's losing money by doing this. He's losing money. The stock of Tesla is going down. He's not being paid by the administration. He just wants to basically save us our tax dollars from, and we've seen the corruption, and the children that are crying the most are the people who are benefiting from the corruption.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about we're talking about whether or not it
falls under terrorism. We agree that, but by definition,
right,
which is basically doing violence to basically progress your
using
political view,
violence or intimidation of violence or threat of to push forward a religious or political view, which is clearly what they mean. You're blowing up cars. There's even people who have came forward and said they were actually shot at in their car.
Shot at. And these are people you have no idea. And
most of them are probably
on the left.
Who are driving the cars.
A good majority of them.
I mean, it's just insane. So you had we were talking about it a little earlier. You said you wanted to play devil's advocate.
Not so much about the whole burning cars. That I agree is bullshit. It shouldn't happen. But when you bring up the terrorism part of it, and then it's always a whataboutism, but they talk about the January 6th people, the ones who were causing violence, not the ones who were just there to protest, who didn't enter, even the ones who entered the building, who didn't do anything, just walked around, but the ones who actually attacked police officers, because there were people that attacked police officers, let's not lie, they should have been arrested. I do not agree that they should have been pardoned. However, what was I don't know what their sentence was compared to what it should be.
That's the thing.
If they had already served what it would have been anyway, then
they were denied due process, and even habeas corpus was rejected, which is that hasn't happened since the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And when you're pardoned, it's kind of and again, if you attack cops, you should have went to jail, but you also should have had a trial.
Yeah. And
you should have been allowed to have your due process. But if you're just thrown in a hole because you shoved a cop or maybe threw a haymaker at a cop, you should go to jail, but you shouldn't be in the hole for 3 or 4 years without a trial, without even being, given representation. So I think that's why they were pardoned. And then I don't think it's terrorism if you're talking about a pushing and shoving. That's a big difference between firebombing a car, I think.
Absolutely.
I think there's a little bit of a difference like that. Now,
but like we said, it's also the threat of. So if you feel I guess that's subjective. You have to go through a reasonable.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But you should have your trial to explain yourself.
No, yeah, I agree.
And so should these nitwits.
I agree. Well, I don't even know if any of these people are actually I know quite a few of them have been arrested. I don't know if they're actually being charged with domestic terrorism. I know they were talking about it. I know Trump came out and Bondi came out, yes, and said that it is domestic terrorism. But I do not know if they have been federally charged with that yet. I'm not sure. I'm sure we can Google that. But these idiots are doing this.
Well, you know what the federal government does? They throw it at the wall, and they're going to put everything against you, and then say, "Plea down."
Yeah,
and we won't charge you with this. It's this is why the federal government has a 97% conviction rate, because they have the power to do it. I'm not all for the bullying on innocent people, but if you're sitting here, if you're legit firebombing dealerships and attacking people driving these cars, you should get your day in court. But stack the charges as high as you can, and then go, hey, you want to fight them, fight them.
Okay, I agree. Those kind of instances where they're firebombing cars and not only are they ruining the cars, but they're also getting possibly eliminating jobs. Because the more and more you take out,
Yeah.
oh, now we can't pay people. So you're fucking with American jobs. You're fucking with the stock, which
And
pensions have. American workers have.
People who are just going to work to sell the car. They have nothing to do with this. Now, if you're talking about keying a car
that's
or
what I'm
flattening a tire, no, that's not.
That's where I was going to get.
That's vandalism.
That's what I was trying to get. That's what I was like going toward.
Because that's not using violence. There's a difference between blowing a car up, which is violence. People can get hurt, and keying a car.
Exactly. I don't want to see the same sentence for that person.
No.
I don't want to see any jail time, to be honest, for that person who keyed a car.
No.
Depending on the damages, of course, that goes from a misdemeanor to whatever, depending on the damages.
Sure.
But
you should charge them to the fullest of whatever the crime is.
But if this is a person,
hike up crimes.
The fat guy who was driving whatever, fuck that little thing. Did you see that where he drove into Tesla?
He should be locked in a room with celery water and a P90X video. Not allowed. That should be his sentence. Or just a mirror, and he has to look at it and go, "I'm not fat, you are."
Yeah. Like, I'm not looking for these people to be put in jail for 5-10 years and all that shit, or like any of that crazy stuff on putting them in Guantanamo Bay and all that shit that people are talking about. No, I want fairness. You did a crime, you committed a crime. If it does meet the legal definition of domestic terrorism, then guess what? You get charged with it. Whether or not you get found guilty of it, you'll have your day in court. Probably won't.
No, we agree.
And like we said, it'll probably, we're going to throw this at you, but if you plead, we'll knock that off. You'll get vandalism, whatever. That's usually how it works. But I just find it hilarious that these same people who are all about climate change are just blowing up these vehicles that are releasing such horrible chemicals into the environment that they care so much about. And these batteries, these lithium batteries, there's no plan. What happens with them when they die, when you get rid of a car, you get rid of them. They just sit somewhere right now. There's no fucking plan. So the hypocrisy I find pretty amusing. Pretty amusing. And at the same time, it's funny. It's kind of funny to see people on the right, here's devil's advocate again, who kind of made fun of the people buying these Tesla cars. And now they're kind of like,
well, I make fun of people who drive Teslas still. Any EV I think is ridiculous, but there's a difference between making fun of them and saying, well, they should be attacked.
Of course.
Like, no, you should be able, you want to buy a hybrid or an EV, you have every right to buy them. I have every right to sit there and say I think they're stupid.
Yeah,
I don't have a right to sit there and attack you for it.
I personally
That's the difference between the right and the left. We'll make fun of you.
Yeah.
You will attack us.
Yeah, but we're the party of violence.
Right.
They say.
We're the party of great memes.
They definitely can't.
They can't meme for shit.
They can't meme for shit. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that because you guys, I'm sure you've been following the news and you see what's going on. You have your own opinions. It's stupid. But as far as terrorism goes, you were talking about a specific instance or a specific point. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was listening to some podcast. I think one of the guys, I forget who it was. He was a guest on the Sean Ryan show. He's probably the best podcaster out right now. And I was listening to, I think, Jack Richland of Black Scout Survival. And you and I have a little bit of knowledge into this area. They're basically talking about the next terrorist attack from the information they're getting inside people who study this kind of stuff. And, whether it's predicting, when I say predicting, I'm not talking about being clairvoyant, but predicting by what they're seeing, the intel they're getting. The next terrorist attack, it seems like they're going to be using first responders. Now, I'm not necessarily saying actual first responders will be involved in the attack. It sounds like they'll be masquerading as first responders, which you and I know it's very easy to get a police uniform. It's very easy to get, a badge. These are not hard things to get. They're not. I mean, a badge is a little tougher to get, but are you, especially in the winter, how hard is it to have a sew-on badge, or in the fall when you're wearing a jacket? Most departments now, you can sew your badge onto your jackets. So it's not hard to do this kind of stuff. It's not hard to get patches. Patches are online. I mean, you can order them. It's not hard, whether you're a cop or a fireman or an EMT. They're talking about basically, using first responders under the guise of first responders. When a terrorist attack happens, they're going to have people. I mean, you can only imagine. Think about like France. We had like France happen, and you have cops responding to multiple locations throughout France because there's multiple terrorist attacks. Now imagine some of the cops responding aren't actually cops; they're actually the terrorists. I mean, what an absolute shit show that would be. I mean, I mean, so they were talking about like, hey, is there a way if something like this happens, you have some kind of decoder or some kind of quietly you come up with some kind of maybe something you would put on your sleeve, like a certain color that would distinguish yourself from, but as well as I do how many actual cops are not going to remember to put them on. So it can create one massive shit show. And you want to talk about blue on blue problems.
Did they mention what the attack would be, like what they're going for? They're blowing something up? Or?
I mean, it would be even some kind of diversion where you would blow something up. Have, of course, how this city
have
is.
A huge response.
Everybody puts all their eggs in one basket. I mean, when we looked at the 2020 riots in Philly, everybody was responding to Center City, and then 52nd and Market broke out, and you had almost all your eggs in one basket. And the only people that were around 52nd and Market, which is West Philly, were West Philly cops.
Yeah, and
they were completely outgunned and overmanned. So what happened? You had to get everybody who's here now to respond to there instead of, everything's checkers. Nothing's chess. No one at one point says, listen, we got one massive problem at point A. Well, you don't point everybody at point A. You go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this many people at point A. Let's have people at point B's, C, and D. Just in case something breaks out, we have some bodies here. So we know how this would work out. If there was a diversion, or you do like a Boston Marathon kind of explosion, not massive, but big enough to cause fatalities and plenty of casualties, you're going to put it probably over here, and then you're going to attack over here. And you can have, then they're running, everybody's running from here to here, and then you can have something over here. That's how it would probably, if I'm doing it, you scatter, and then you basically thin this herd as much as you can and have such a gap. And you would do it on a day where it's going to be a mess. You do it on a weekend in the summer near a bridge, 4th of July weekend. I mean, I'm not saying anything that a terrorist wouldn't think of, but this is as well as I do. No one at the top floor is thinking of this kind of stuff. And you start kind of wargaming these things, and you talk about bridges, and you talk about areas that are going to be very hard to access if you're a cop during these kind of events. And that's what you would do. You would just spread it out as much as you can on a day that's as inconvenient as possible. And then when people are going in to help, you're going, oh, there's all the first responders, there's firemen. It's like, it's going to look like The Town, the movie, and if it's just, you got guys dressed as first responders. And then how do you respond to that where no one really knows who's on whose team, and you just have shots going back and forth? That would be an absolute shit show.
Who was this guy that? What was his position? Does he just get? Does he have intel somehow, or like? Does he work for the DoD at all?
I think I want to say so. I think it was the Sean Ryan show. It was maybe only a month ago. He had Sarah Adams on. She's the blonde who used to work for the CIA.
Yeah.
He had the guy they call him Legend. He's an Afghan intel guy. They don't show his face because he's the one who basically broke the news to Sean that the United States government's paying between $40 and $70 million a week to the Taliban still. And then there was another guy, and I forget who the third guy was. I want to say, I think he was like a colonel or something. I cannot remember who he was, but he was the one who was talking about it. So just watch that episode, because that whole episode is about a lot of homeland security and when the next one is going to happen. And it's going to be big. We're not talking about hundreds of lives. They were talking like literally in the several thousands, if not tens of thousands. And it may even be multiple cities at once. Instead of just hitting, New York or Philly, it could be, well, we're going to hit New York, we're going to hit Philly, we're going to hit Chicago. You hit everywhere. You may even hit some, more obscure city in the Midwest, because it's like, well, why not? So, but that's what they were talking about. And they were talking about like, casualties or fatalities in the thousands, like 5 digits.
And chances are that if this is an actual plan and it's in the works, these people are already over here.
They're here, and they're already by the 4 digits they're here. By the thousands they're here, and they're already. You had that door open for 4 years. Who the hell knows who's in?
Who knows who's in? And It's funny that whole time, the Democrats wanted to act like they cared about the border. Oh, they need the pay. We need Congress. We need Congress. And then President Trump comes in and
What did he say? You just needed a better
you
president.
just needed a new president. He didn't even say better. He just said a new president. Yeah. And just the election win, I feel, deterred people from crossing those borders.
Oh, they immediately started turning around. And now you see that he's not playing. He's sending them to El Salvador. I mean, and they're being perp walked there. And you see guys are voluntarily leaving because it's like, hey, if I just try to get the hell out of here, maybe I don't wind up in an El Salvadorian prison. I can, at least try to be on the run.
Gang members. So far, since Donald Trump has been president since January 20th, right, of 2025, and so far he's gotten the left to defend gang members, MS-13 gang members, the IRS. What else? The terrorism against Tesla, because none of them have. Mm-hmm. So
he's forcing them to have to side with this kind of stuff.
It's crazy.
Oh, and women and men and women's sports. That's the other
one. And that's another thing.
That's what the Democrat platform is right now.
I had a friend put on Facebook the other day and talking about the bill that they wanted to pass about men not being allowed in women's sports and vice versa. Even though there is no vice versa, you rarely see a woman who transitions to a man go play sports.
Where that?
I know, but and he was saying, it's crazy that we need a law for this. And then, of course, I go in the comment section and I see somebody say, there are 500,000 NCAA athletes. How many do you think are transgender? Which stupid question. Now, the answer is fewer than 10. The problem is 1 is too many. There should be 0.
It's like saying there's 500,000 people. How many are pedophiles?
But here's the thing.
It doesn't matter. It's bad. It's wrong.
Now it's fewer than 10. That started at 1. And now you're at fewer than 10. So there could be 9 or 8. There could be 6. I don't care. 5, 10, 15 years, if it goes unchecked, what are we looking at now? 30, 40, 50?
If you were to get
the point is, it took 1 in high school to completely end, I think it was high school, completely end the girl's volleyball career, give her a traumatic brain injury. Yeah. Like, this isn't, and then she wanted to bring up, well, I hope the same men who are in here who care about this also care about women's reproductive rights, all that stuff. Well, listen, these are all different issues. These are different issues, okay?
To say there's only, if you went to a doctor and the doctor said, hey, we that mole on your skin, it's cancerous, but it's only 1 mole, so we're not going to worry about it. Or you're going to turn around and go, no, get the fuck off now before this becomes a problem.
Who was the I don't want to say journalist, the interviewer, J.D. Vance? Was it Martha Radish?
I don't care, Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret. Yeah. Well, it was not that one, but I'm talking about the one when they were talking about. Remember, the gang members were taking over apartment buildings.
Oh, and she said it's only a few buildings.
It's only a handful. And he was like, "Listen to yourself, Margaret.
What's acceptable?
Only a handful of apartments are being overrun by MS-3 gang members in America. Only a handful. Yeah, that's your defense.
So what is allowed? You're saying that this is allowed?
So that was my question. My question is, right now there's fewer than 10. What's the allowable amount before it's an issue?
None. I don't care what
I don't care. 0.
I don't care what some old broad, thinks about, or anybody thinks about. We shouldn't allow. Well, it's only this many terrorists, or it's only this many gang members, or it's only this many men beating the hell out of women in women's sports. It's unacceptable at any level, and like anything, you cut it off as soon as there's a problem is when you cut it off. As soon as you notice this, you cut it off, because if you don't. And this is their game plan. They gaslight you. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Let this fester for a few more years, and then it becomes a big deal. And by then, it's more a norm. Mm-hmm. And then it's just a game they play. You don't even listen to them. Like these judges. Easy segue here. The judges that are now telling Trump he can't deport these people. Mm-hmm. Guess what? I don't listen to anybody. I don't listen to them. These judges sat with their fingers in their ass for 4 years while that door was wide open, and not one of them said anything about making sure we vet these people coming in. Now they want to get up when we're trying to take the people who illegally came into the country, take them back out. Now they want to stand up. I don't listen to any judge. I think Andrew Jackson said it best. The judge has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. Exactly. They can't. Throw them out. And I'm not one to sit there and say, we shouldn't listen to judges. This is part of the way our Constitution works. No, this is them abusing it. They completely ignored the problem for 4 years. All right, and these judges, by the way, also are part of the funding. Like one judge is part of the funding to stop the Republican Party. Like he's actually in a group that funds stop the Republican Party or stop the GOP. So I don't listen to these people. I completely ignore them. If it goes to the Supreme Court, fine. But any district judge,
It's going to.
any low level judge, I completely ignore them. We're sending them right out. I don't listen to anything they say.
I think it's kind of bullshit that a district judge can just
Overrule the president of the United States.
And these nationwide restraining orders, I think they need to go. They need to be revamped or something because.
You mean injunctions?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't listen to them either.
I just think it's crazy. I think it's crazy, and you can bring it to any judge. So they always go to like the Ninth Circuit judge,
right? The most liberal.
Yeah.
And how many times do they get overturned? Mm-hmm. Like 80-something% of the time crazy. Because they're wrong. Yeah. So yeah, I don't. If I'm Trump, it's in one ear and out the other. We're going to keep on trucking, and then when it gets to the Supreme Court, then we'll worry about it.
How do you feel about his executive orders? Do you feel like he's doing too many? I kind of feel like.
Well, what he's doing is this is like a shock and awe. He's trying to throw so much out there. Well, they can't
focus on one.
Right, it's just a blitzkrieg.
Yeah,
it's just a blitzkrieg of shit.
Yeah, and I get that, but like the thing is, like he'll do a little press conference, which he's done already more than Joe Biden ever has in his whole fucking 80 years in Congress. But we'll do a press conference. I'm signing this executive order to end the Department of Education. Mm-hmm. You know that's going to go to the courts. Like it's not just okay. The department, it's ended because I signed my name.
But it makes such a stink that it has to be addressed. So and the left actually helps us because they are screaming the loudest about it. So the more they scream, the greater the chances has to go to the Supreme Court. I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's because Congress funds it and they allow it, so it has to go back to Congress.
Well, it was originally created through executive order. By Kennedy, I think, right?
Was it approved by?
It was eventually coddled.
So that's the problem.
Yes,
we have to go back through Congress.
And
I get that.
That's my issue with the whole executive orders thing. People they shoot and they cheer. Yeah, it's done. No, it's not done. That's just it's the very, very beginning of the stage. And me personally, I don't know if it will be eliminated. I think there's too many. There might be too many hurdles.
Well, if it goes to the Supreme Court, let's just say it goes to the Supreme Court.
Don't trust John Roberts.
No, I don't trust him. No, but I think the argument's going to be at what point that every year it has failed. Mm-hmm. Every year, like literally every year. Who started the? Was it Carter?
I think it was JFK.
I thought it was Carter.
The Department of Education. Let's see.
It seems something stupid. Like so, I would have to say it's Carter.
Let's see.
I thought Carter started. Let's just say it was Carter. I'm pretty sure if Carter started it every year, scores have gotten worse. Like literally every year, scores have gotten worse since the Department of Education took precedent.
Jimmy Carter. You're right. You're right.
I think it's stupid. It's got to be Carter. Good guy, but absolute nitwit. So Carter started it. So you figure
something else with JFK then, because something. Oh, that might USAID. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that was USAID.
I say it was established in '79, which is his last year. Mm-hmm. All right, so he snuck that through, and every year since, I'm pretty sure I've heard the scores have gotten worse. So if this goes to the courts, I mean, I think you can sit there and say we have 46 years of evidence that this is not working. Why do we continue to fund it? Mm-hmm. So I don't know how it would work. I don't know if the court would turn around and say, This is Congress. You have to bring this back in front of Congress, and the court may turn around and say this is a congressional issue because you have to vote on it. So
he signed the Department. I was confused. I just want to clear the air. The signing of the Department of Education Organization Act into law, which Carter. USAID was, I believe, JFK, who was by executive order. Then that was coddled through Congress. Yeah. So that's another thing, though. We see signing the executive order.
Well, here's the weird thing, though. Like now, here's the kind of odd kind of thing. Okay, Trump can't just get rid of maybe USAID or the Board of Education, Department of Education. He may not. Can I just turn around and go, I'm going to low fund the hell out of this and just make it a nightmare?
Well,
It's
now,
kind of like I can't take your house. What I'm going to do is shut the gas, electricity off. We're not going to maintain.
well, that's kind of what
shut the water off and make it hell for
that's
you.
kind of what he's doing. You can mix that in with the whole DEI stuff that he like. If you still promote this, you're going to lose your federal funding.
Right.
I think that's more on a university levels. I don't know if that's hitting local schools yet or anything like that, or departments for that matter. Like city workers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like there's a DEI program in the police department somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I walked by it. It literally, I looked at it. I'm like, are you freaking kidding
But I'm
me?
just saying, like, I don't think that can affect that. But we do get like
Federal grants,
do get
sure.
federal grants. So
Sure.
I guess he can turn around and say, all right, you don't want to get rid of it. That's fine because you want to bring it back to the states. That's your choice, but you're losing federal funding. It's kind of like now you argue like you're for that. Cool. But now I'm going to play devil's advocate again. That's kind of like we're not telling you have to get a COVID shot, but if you don't, you're going to lose your job. You have to find work elsewhere.
Well, no, you're talking about talking about something physical.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a medic. This is you're going into a HIPAA thing now. When it used to still be matter, you're telling people they have to have a medical treatment. There's a big difference between forcing someone to have a medical treatment and playing by policies.
I'm not saying it's complete apples to apples. I'm just saying like it's almost the same thing. Like you act like we have a choice, but we really don't.
I wouldn't use the medical. I wouldn't use a vaccine to. I think that's apples to oranges. You can't. I don't think you can compare those two though. I don't know. I wouldn't compare those two.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying the choice, the choice in of itself.
Right, but I mean, you're really getting into constitutional issues if you're forcing people to have elective surgeries or not elective surgeries, elective vaccines or elective medical treatment. I just wouldn't pick that one. I get what you're saying is, well, if you want the money, you got to do this. It's like, but you can't infringe on people's constitutional rights for that.
Yeah.
Having a department that you just made up for some nitwit who is completely inept and somehow now we'll pay them $160,000 a year just to push our bullshit policies and make sure other nitwits who have no right to be in a position, we're going to put them there just because of the color of their skin, the sex that they choose to be that day, or whatever their sexual preferences are. That's the differences. So he's going after that because he wants more of a meritocracy, which I think we all want, at least any hard worker wants, as opposed to, like I said, I just wouldn't compare that to forcing someone to get a medical treatment, whatever.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. I just don't think the comparisons are fair. One is completely physical and medical. The other one is more policy related.
Yeah. And these DEI, like the directors of these DEI programs all over the country, man, they are making bank.
Well, the one in Philly was making $160,000 a year.
I think it's like 160.
Yeah,
something like that.
And it's like, what? Why are you? You weren't even a cop.
No.
You were never even a cop.
Yeah, you don't have to be. It's a
That's
civilian.
Like me going to
it's a civilian position.
Like you put me in on the board of whatever pediatric neurosurgery, and I'm going to listen. I got something to say about this. I don't know what, but I got something to say about it. And everybody here who's going to more educated and has done the job. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with something like that, but forcing someone for a medical, like you said, it's too that's two apples to oranges.
I was telling my wife the other day, I kind of feel like this whole the whole DEI thing with what he's doing, trying to get rid of it and stuff. It's to me, it's just temporary. Say in 2028, a Democrat wins, it's going to be right back. I told her, I was like, listen, it's here to stay. Just it is what it is. I don't think you're going to get rid of it. Maybe you pause it for 4 years. Unless you pass something in Congress that says like it can never come back again.
Well, unless
like
that becomes
actually passes. And
unless
then
it becomes some kind of, it's actually, it goes against the Civil Rights Act.
You can argue that.
If you say it goes against the 1964 Civil Rights Act and like affirmative action, like, okay, that may have made sense when you had in the 60s or 70s Black people who could do the job just as good as white people,
weren't getting it because
then it made sense.
Absolutely.
Now it's the complete reverse. you have people who can't do the job as well, but because of their color, we're giving it to them. That's where it has to stop. And I think we're at a point now in today's world where it's like, hey, best man for the job or woman for the job. So I think we can get rid of it. I think at the time it made sense to have it, but now it's like, well, that's complete. Now it's gone so far. It's actually, it's on the other side, racist.
Mm-hmm.
So you can argue that certain things can be disqualified, affirmative action, or even equal opportunity. Now it's like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Well,
because everybody's changing definitions.
Weren't
of
there
words.
studies done that actually prove that affirmative action helped white women more than anything else?
Well, I think it was considered for minorities. White women were considered minorities, even though they were the majority.
Yeah.
But they were minorities in the workplace.
Yeah.
So it's like where, it's like saying like, well, you're white, you're part of the majority. It's like, well, not in a major city, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, we'll just play by your rules.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. What they do is it becomes a shell game. They keep shifting numbers, and it's like, well, yeah, but not here, and so.
Well, this is the problem.
They don't make. There's a reason why they speak in such ambiguity. It's because they don't want to be locked in to a certain definition, because they want to constantly move that word around.
Well, this is why government needs to stop putting its dirty hands in every single issue. It wasn't supposed to be like that. It wasn't like
this is why Doge is here.
Yeah, this is why Doge is here.
To fund a lot of this.
This is why Doge is here, and I don't understand the outrage with the whole Doge thing, because you had Obama talk about waste fraud and how he was going to do something about it, just didn't do anything about it. Multiple presidents have. Biden spoke about it. The Bushes, George Bush spoke about it. Clinton spoke. Well, Clinton actually did a little bit. He did. Mm-hmm. He actually did fire.
Well, the outrage is
377,000 federal employees at some point altogether, not all at once. Right. But it wound up being like 377,000 federal employees. No outrage, nothing.
Well, who are the people screaming the loudest about it?
The people who benefit. The people who benefit from it. The ones who make $175,000 a year, yet are worth $240 million.
Sure.
Like it's crazy.
That's so when you ask the question, you're kind of answering it. I don't understand all the problems with it. I do. The people are having a fit, or the people who are benefited from it, or it's just one big racket. Yeah. And these are the people who are crying about it.
It makes me mad that the red flags don't go up for people like that. Like, even if you're a Democrat and you hate Trump, whatever, can't you see those numbers and think like something's up with that? There's no reason that Nancy.
Well, Jon Stewart got white pilled a little bit, or red pilled, whatever you want to call it.
Red pilled.
He found out how much waste. He's like, Jesus Christ!
I saw that.
Bill Maher was kind of talking about it. So, like, your more moderate style Democrats they're not. I think they're kind of like, okay, we get what you're doing with some of it. They're at least halfway with it. Like, we're not totally against it, but I think you may be pushing too hard, too fast.
That's what I agree that the whole Doge process is moving. It might be. I think it is moving too fast.
I just don't care,
because you fired so many people. Now you're bringing some people back. It's like, oh shit, we fucked up. I think you need to take a minute. I think they're only. Doge is only going to be operating until July of 2026. So maybe that's why.
That's probably why.
That's probably why they're moving so fast. Like, it's better to do this now than realize, oh, we fucked up, and you can always bring them back.
Why don't they have no timeline so they can take their time to do it right, or more?
I don't know. I don't know what the thought process behind that was.
I got to be honest with you. The only problem...
maybe Elon was like, listen, motherfucker, I'm doing this for free. And I'm only going to do it for a year.
That could be.
I got Starlink. I'm putting chips in people's heads. They can read minds. I'm making robots that we're all going to have to fight 20 years from now. Maybe not that long.
It's not going to be a good process. I get it. And, like, sometimes to cure cancer, some white mice have to die. And unfortunately, I hate to say it like that. I don't want to see veterans losing their job.
No.
That's where I'm going to draw a line. I don't want to see vets lose their job. If some bureaucrat loses their job, I don't really give a shit. I don't really care. I'm not losing sleep. I'd much rather have trillions of tax dollars,
I mean, they'll be fine. They'll make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in consulting or some bullshit like that. So they'll be okay. But you're right, the veterans and stuff like that.
No, that's
if it comes out that they are losing jobs. I know there's chatter that veterans are losing jobs, but I haven't actually seen it yet. I don't know.
No, and this is where Doug Collins, who's in charge of veteran affairs, needs to sit down with Musk and go, hey, listen, I don't care about all this. This is untouched.
Because Doug Collins, he actually said in an interview.
Not Veterans Affairs. I'm sorry. He's in charge of veteran affairs. I don't care if people from Veterans Affairs get fired who aren't doing their job. I don't want to see veterans get fired.
And that's what he actually
He was just on
That's
the Sean Ryan show too.
Was he? I didn't see that one.
Just last week.
But he did an interview with another leftist. I forget who it was. It doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Caitlin Collins.
Was it Caitlin Collins?
Yeah, she got shamed.
When he was very cordial, almost in a condescending way. He was talking
about your network was firing veteran, or your network said go.
And it was a lie.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And they wrote an article.
And she's like, "Well, I'm here to interview. I don't answer the questions." With her burnt Ernie eyebrows. So yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he did a good
I
job.
like him, and he was just on. So yeah, just like literally a few days ago, he was just on Sean Ryan's show, and they're talking a lot about that stuff.
All right, let's talk about hard segue real quick. Has nothing to do with this, but it's got something to do with cabinet members and people who Trump picked. Let's talk about the leaked war plans or whatever they were saying from Hegseth and that signal.
I don't know what the hell happened. Like, I don't like it. I think someone's ass needs to get a good rap on the knuckles. Whoever thought of this. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying people should be fired right away, but I don't even know what happened. Like who?
So apparently,
how did this happen?
So that's the question. Nobody knows. I want to know who added. Yeah, obviously somebody knows who added that journalist to that signal. Why did he was added?
The Atlantic, who said that? That's the people who went after Trump with the bullshit.
Well, the guy who was at it was a huge. Yeah,
he wrote.
Yeah, he was a huge.
He wrote it. Why would you have him in there?
So that's the thing. Was it done purposely by somebody to leak it?
Well, if it was, their ass needs to be fired.
Yeah.
And whoever hired them needs to be accountable for why that person was. I like Hegseth. I don't want to see him fired. I don't even know if he had anything to do with this. Because people are like, someone was asking, was Hegseth drunk? I'm like, come on. Well, like they're trying to paint this guy out like he's an 80s rock star or something. He's always drunk and high. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I don't even know what Hegseth would have. I keep hearing it's Waltz. Why are we bringing Hegseth in there?
Well,
he's in charge of the DOD, but
Hegseth.
What's Waltz in charge of?
I think Waltz was the one that let's see. Was it
because his name is the one that keeps coming up, Mike Waltz.
Mike Waltz.
U.S. National Security Advisor.
Okay,
right.
Okay. So he's advised. So I think maybe I don't.
Does he work for Tulsi then? Because isn't she NSI? I don't. Whatever.
I'm not sure.
I'm not exactly sure.
I know he was getting the brunt of it, but Hegseth was basically maybe he started the group chat, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. So they're saying that maybe if you start the group chat, you're the one to pick the names.
Yeah. Okay. So until someone can tell me who actually put this guy in here, because no one knows, and by not listen, you got to be honest with yourself. If they're not telling you who, they know who.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And you got to tell me who.
I agree.
And right now, thankfully, everything went according to plan. Thankfully.
Well, that's my thing. There was no locations. There was times and what we were going to do.
What was Yemen? They said they didn't.
Yemen.
Well, the problem is
Pennsylvania.
I know, but the problem is if this country has a surface to air missile system where they get this, God forbid if they found this out before the attack, mm-hmm. There's a lot of American pilots could have been killed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this isn't just because it went well doesn't mean it should be unforgiven. I'm not saying we got to hang people over it, but something needs to be done.
What should be done? That's the thing. Like if you don't fire
I need to know the whole story.
If you don't, but
I need the whole.
Let's say it's negligence, and let's say it was Waltz who just accidentally put this guy in there. That's negligence. First of all, I don't think that kind of shit should be on signal. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Any kind of war plans does not go on.
Personally, if that's what happened, even if it was a mistake, listen, you can be honest. Like, listen, he's a good guy. He's a very good worker, but he made a mistake. I don't think it should be something that your entire career should be made of. But we can't have people in here making those kind of mistakes where it can suffer. Pilots can lose their lives over. And I think you asked him to resign. Mm-hmm. You asked him to resign. It's just that simple. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. And again, your entire career shouldn't be over because of it. But I think your position right now here, it doesn't say much about us if we allow it to happen. This was pretty big.
Yeah.
Again, just because thankfully nothing happened. But again, if this got out hours before and they had a system that can detect this, and if one pilot lost their life, that's because of you.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's times where you got to be a boss. Doesn't mean you have to be mean. I think there's a proper way to do this. It wasn't like he was malicious by doing this.
Mhm.
I think he frigged up and it was careless. And I think it's one of those, let him resign. You know, he can get a job somewhere else with maybe a lower security thing. It's not exactly what he's going to want. It's definitely a demotion. But brother, I mean, you're not 16 years old in high school.
I actually think that would actually bring some a little bit more credibility
Absolutely
to the Trump
It
administration.
doesn't hurt
too.
Trump at all. It
No.
says, hey, listen,
I think it hurts
he's
you
a
more
good guy.
if you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think by not finding out what happened, it hurts more. And if it was him, guess what? Even if it was Hegseth, and I like Pete, I like him. I would want him there, but I think that's one of those. If that happened, I think I know it's only a couple months in, and no one wants to be cut from the team before the season really starts. But it's like, hey, I stuck up for you, and you let me down on this. And it wasn't a simple mistake. This wasn't a hey, this can happen to anybody. This was careless, and you need to resign. And I again, that doesn't mean your career is over. And I think you step down with dignity and go, listen, I'm a team guy, and I blew it, and it wasn't intentional. And it was an oversight. I wasn't thinking, and I was trying to be transparent. And whatever. I had a brain fart and whatever. And people could have lost their lives because of me. And being someone who served, I understand the accountability that needs to be taken. I think you walk out, you go, hey, listen, he ate it.
Yeah.
And Trump looks better because he's making his guys. You don't fire them. You let them resign. There's no reason to fire them because it wasn't malicious. So I think you need the accountability. And I think by not talking about what exactly happened, I think they're covering up someone dropped the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care who it was. I think you got to have them be accountable for something like that.
Yeah, and this is the difference between like just straight Republican supporters, Democrat supporters, whatever. Like you have to be able to point out the accountability in your own party.
It's integrity.
Somebody exactly.
It's just having integrity.
Exactly. If somebody messes up, doesn't matter if the Republican, Democrat, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, it doesn't matter. If they messed up, you got to have the balls and the integrity to stand up and say, no, that was wrong. That was wrong.
Right.
And
even if it was, again,
unfortunately,
malicious.
I guess they're going to do an investigation into it, but we know how investigations work in the department. It's going to go on for years. Nobody's ever Senate hearings.
We found no wrong.
There's going to be Senate hearings. Democrats are going to ask them now because it's a Republican in the seat. Democrats are going to actually ask them the hard questions. Republicans are going to be kissing their ass, and they're going to do whataboutisms, and it's going to go on forever. And there's probably not going to be any accountability. And I think there's an issue with that.
I agree. No, I agree. And this is sometimes the difference between conservatives and liberals, where we'll actually sit there and say, no, someone should be held accountable for this. Someone, I mean, again, it doesn't mean their career's over or their life is over, but you need to sit there and go, listen, right now, you got to leave this position. Maybe you give them a lower ranking position. Maybe they become an advisor. They don't have that top level security clearance, so that stuff can't happen. Maybe they're down a level.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but you know what? Again, if I picked you for this team, it's because I have faith in you. And if you show me a reason to not have faith in you, I got to cut you from the team. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. But, it makes me look bad, and it makes me look even worse if I don't do anything about it.
And that would be the complete difference. Like if that actually happened, he resigned, or Trump came out and said, we let him go, and it was cordial. That would be the difference between something like that and then, let's say, Lloyd Austin after that horrible
everything
debacle that happened in Afghanistan, the exit from Afghanistan. I mean,
or when he left his post for days when he had surgery, he never
told anybody. So like that, like if I think the best move actually is to either let him go or talk to him and have him resign. Do a press conference, nice and cordial, and Trump comes up and says, "Yeah, he resigned, and I agree with it. I accept his resignation. It's something that happened that shouldn't have happened." The problem is how Trump is. I don't think he would be as.
It looks bad because it's just a couple months into.
Yeah.
If it was a year and a half thing, they'd be like, all right. But it's like
this is your first thing.
It's like,
and
it's like you basically got your first game on the team. You screwed up and got cut.
Yeah, and apparently there's no 3 strikes when it involves
something like this. No.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you're lucky nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
You're lucky all that happened was you got exposed.
Yeah, that's the only upside. It's a big upside to it.
I do have a little problem. I understand the reporter has a First Amendment right, but I think if it for something like that where it can result in Americans losing their lives, I think you got to keep your mouth shut. That's me.
Well, I mean, was it reported after was it reported after the mission was completed?
I don't know. Okay, if it was,
Probably
then I
was.
take. Okay,
I think it was. I think it was because I think it only happened
Alright.
2 hours later.
Okay,
After that message, like it was like 2 hours later that the actual mission was beginning.
but that's a good thing. Like, all right, so maybe if he did wait, God, maybe imagine if he let it out beforehand.
That's a different story.
I
Yeah,
mean,
now
personally, I think that's. I mean, that you should absolutely get in trouble for something like that because that is that's not a. It's not a First Amendment right if you're leaking out national security information that could get American soldiers or military killed. That's not a First Amendment right.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they got mad at Snowden when he said they're tapping into your phones.
Yeah. How about that?
So, but anyway.
What else you got?
Oh, I think that's it for this one.
Yeah, I think that's good. What are we doing next week? Working?
I don't know. I'll have to check. Check my schedule. I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah, I am working Sunday next week. So,
all right.
So we're not going to do next week.
We'll, I don't know. Maybe we'll get some shorts out there, do something. I'll try to figure out something. But that's going to be it for this week from Jordan and Die Podcast. Like, subscribe, share it, and we'll see you next time. Be safe.
All right. Yeah, next week.